I found security footage dated tomorrow. It showed me sleeping, and someone standing beside my bed. But before I get into that, don't forget to like the video and subscribe only if you enjoy these stories. Comment where you're listening from. And if you've ever lived somewhere that just didn't feel right, I want to hear your story for a future video. Alright, get comfortable, turn down the lights, because this one still makes my skin crawl to think about. I didn't go to work the next day. I didn't answer calls. I didn't open the curtains. I told myself it was because I needed sleep, because my body had finally hit that wall where fear turns into nausea and every sound feels like a threat. But the truth was simpler than that. I was waiting for 2:13 a.m., like it was an appointment I couldn't cancel. I kept replaying the last clip in my head, him behind the camera, close enough that the lens had captured the suggestion of a face, the faint curvature of a smile that didn't belong in my kitchen. I'd watched it until I couldn't tell if the image was real or if I'd burned it into my memory from sheer repetition. I'd paused on the frame so long that my laptop screen had dimmed and the glass reflected my own eyes back at me, wide and wet and too awake. By afternoon, I convinced myself there had to be an explanation. A technical one, a rational one, a normal one. Someone could hack a camera system. Someone could break into a backyard. Someone could stand there just to scare me. But none of those explanations answered the one detail that refused to sit still in my mind. The freeze. Always at 2:13 a.m., exactly one frame. It wasn't a glitch that drifted or varied. It was precise, intentional, like a signature. I made coffee I didn't drink. I left every light on. I checked every lock twice, then 3 times. I moved through the house like it wasn't mine anymore, like the walls were only pretending to be familiar. I avoided the kitchen window. I told myself I wouldn't check the garden again. I told myself I wouldn't feed it my attention. Then, just after sunset, I caved and opened the security app. The live view showed my garden, empty and still. The fence line was a black seam against darker trees. The grass looked harmless, ordinary. I should have felt relief. Instead, I felt insulted, like the house itself was lying to me. I navigated to the recordings. The timeline loaded slowly, a spinning icon turning in place like it had all the time in the world. When the list finally populated, I scrolled through the usual date stamps, and then I stopped, because there was a folder that shouldn't exist. It was labeled with tomorrow's date. I stared at it, waiting for it to correct itself, waiting for the app to refresh and put it back where it belonged. But the folder remained, sitting there calmly, as if it had always been part of the system. My first thought was that my phone's date was wrong. My second was that the camera's internal clock had drifted. My third thought, quiet and ugly, was that I hadn't misread anything at all. I checked my phone's date. Correct. I checked the system settings. Correct. Tomorrow's folder stayed. My thumb hovered over it. I could feel my pulse in the pad of my finger, like a second heartbeat trying to talk me out of it. Then I tapped. The first clip opened instantly. Not the garden, not the fence, not the black, flat line where he usually stood. It was my hallway. My hallway. The angle was too low to be from the mounted garden camera, too steady to be handheld by anyone I knew. The footage moved through the dark as if it belonged there, gliding forward without a single wobble, like the camera itself was floating. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. The lens turned slightly and the living room came into view. My couch, my coffee table, the throw blanket I always meant to fold and never did. Everything looked normal, except for the fact that I was seeing it from an angle I'd never placed a camera. The footage drifted toward the doorway that led to the stairs, and then it began to climb, one step at a time. No sound, no creak, no heavy footfalls, just smooth forward motion, like the house had become a model and the camera was a cold, patient tour guide. I watched myself hold my breath while the video climbed into my private space. At the top of the stairs, the camera turned again. My bedroom door was open. In the darkness beyond, my bed was visible. And there I was, sleeping. It didn't look like me at first. Not the way I felt in my own body, but the way I must look to someone else. Vulnerable, slack-faced, hair spread across the pillow like spilled ink. My shoulder bare where the blanket had slid down. The camera moved closer. It didn't rush. It didn't hesitate. It approached my bed with an intimacy that made my stomach twist. I watched myself sleep and felt something inside me try to pull away from the image, as if my mind wanted to detach from my body to escape the shame of being seen like that. Then, in the corner of the frame, something tall moved. No, wrong. It didn't move like a person. It appeared, a long shape at the edge of my room where the shadows pooled. It was the same silhouette I'd seen outside, the same stillness, the same unnatural certainty. The man. He stood there, facing the bed, facing me. The camera kept moving forward, sliding until it hovered over my pillow. The lens tilted down close enough that I could see every small detail. The crease in my cheek, the soft parting of my lips, the tiny twitch under my eyelid. The timestamp burned in the corner. 2:13 a.m. My eyes in the footage were closed. My eyes in real life now were wide open, staring at the screen. The video froze. One frame. In that frame, my eyes were open. Not half open, not fluttering. Fully open, wide and staring into the lens as if I'd been awake the whole time. My mouth was slightly open too, like I'd been caught mid-breath or mid-word. Then the footage continued. In the next second, my eyes were closed again. My face relaxed. My chest rose and fell like nothing had happened. I shoved the laptop away from me as if it were hot. The chair legs screeched against the floor, a sound so normal and human it made me flinch. I forced myself to look back at the screen. The camera was still hovering over my bed. The man in the corner of the room was still there. He didn't step closer. He didn't reach out. He just watched. And then, for the first time, the footage did something that made my blood go cold in a way I didn't know was possible. The man moved. Not like a person crossing a room. Not like a person taking a step. He moved like a frame skipping, like reality itself had dropped something and jumped to the next page. One moment he was in the corner. The next moment he was beside the bed. No blur, no transition, no in-between, just closer. And the camera didn't react. It didn't shake. It didn't adjust as if someone had startled. It just remained steady, patient, as if it expected that shift, as if it had seen it 1,000 times. I paused the video and dragged the timeline back a few seconds. I played it again, then again. Every time, the same thing happened. Corner, freeze frame, beside the bed. Corner, freeze frame, beside the bed. It wasn't movement in the way my brain understood movement. It wasn't even fast. It was wrong, like he wasn't walking at all, like he was occupying positions rather than traveling between them. I took a breath that rattled on the way out. I tried to think like a normal person, like someone who believed in cameras and clocks and logic. Frames, I whispered. It's the frames. The phrase echoed in the quiet kitchen. I opened the technical settings for my camera. It listed the frame rate, the resolution, the compression. I googled frame rate limitations with trembling hands. I read about motion blur, about skipped frames, about how fast-moving objects can appear to teleport when the camera can't capture their transition. It should have comforted me. Instead, it confirmed the worst possibility. If this was real, then he had learned how to move in the gaps where the camera couldn't see him. Not just the camera, my eyes, my brain, my perception. He was practicing in the blind spots of reality. I scrolled through the rest of the tomorrow dated folder with a sick sense of obligation, like I'd already gone too far to pretend I could stop. There were more clips, short ones, seconds long, each labeled with timestamps in neat, impossible order. 2:13 a.m., 2:13 a.m., 2:13 a.m., dozens of them, all the same minute, all the same second, like time had stuttered. I clicked one at random. The view was back in the garden, the fence line, the grass, the same dead, quiet night air. The man stood at the edge of my lawn, perfectly still, facing the house. Then the clip froze for one frame. In that frame, he was closer. Then the clip ended. I clicked another. Same garden, same fence, same man. Freeze frame, closer. Another clip, freeze frame, closer. It was like he was taking steps through the freeze frames, using the single captured moment as his footprint. Each freeze was his opportunity to reposition. Each glitch was a doorway. I felt something tight and sour rise in my throat, because now I could see the pattern. The garden footage wasn't just recording him, it was mapping his progress. And the bedroom footage, the one that made my hands shake, showed why. Because he wasn't practicing to get into my house. He was already in it. He was practicing to get to me without being detected. I forced myself to keep watching, even as part of me screamed to shut it all down, smash the camera, burn the laptop, leave the house, and never look back. The last clip in the folder was the longest. I clicked it, and the view opened on my bedroom again. The same low angle, the same gliding movement. But this time, the camera didn't stop at the doorway. It entered. It drifted straight toward my bed, and I was awake. Not in real life, in the footage. I was sitting up, blanket gathered around my waist, my head turned slightly as if listening to something. My eyes were open, focused on the corner of the room, the corner where the man stood. He was there, tall and still, in the same impossible posture. But the feeling in the room, the way it looked on camera, was different, denser, like the shadows had thickened around him. I watched myself whisper something. My lips moved, but there was no audio. The system didn't record sound. Then my head snapped toward the camera, not slowly, instantly, like I could see it, like I knew it was there. The footage froze, one frame. In that frame, my face was closer to the lens than it should have been. Too close. My eyes wide, wet, unblinking. Behind me, the man had shifted again. And in the reflection of my bedside lamp, faint but unmistakable, there were two silhouettes standing side by side. One was him. The other was shaped like me. The video continued. My eyes in the footage closed. My body sank back into the pillow, slack again, peaceful again, like a puppet whose strings had been cut. And the camera angle tilted slightly, drifting down toward the floor, as if whoever held it was turning away, as if it was leaving. I sat there in my kitchen in the bright, artificial light, staring at the screen until my vision blurred. Tomorrow's footage, my hallway, my bedroom, me, awake, then asleep, then awake again in a single frozen frame. And the man, learning the exact moments I didn't move, learning how to cross a room without crossing it, learning how to stand beside my bed without making a sound. My phone buzzed. Once. Then again. A motion alert. I didn't look at it right away. I already knew what it was going to say. My throat was dry. My hands were cold. I forced myself to turn the phone over. Motion detected. Camera 1. Garden view. I opened the live feed. The garden was empty. No man, no shadow, no flattened grass. Just quiet night air and a fence line that suddenly looked too thin to be a boundary. I stared at it, waiting for the figure to render, waiting for him to appear like he always did. Nothing. Then another buzz. Motion detected. Camera 1. Garden view. I watched the garden again, still empty. My heart started to pound, harder now, because the absence wasn't relief. It was confirmation. If the camera was detecting motion in an empty garden, then whatever was moving too fast for the camera to catch. And if he could move that fast outside, if he could cross space between frames, then he didn't need the garden anymore. Not tonight. Not when I was sitting perfectly still in my kitchen, staring at a screen, barely breathing. My phone buzzed one more time. Motion detected. Camera 1. Garden view. And in the corner of my kitchen window, in the dark reflection layered over my own face, I saw a shape standing behind me, unmoving, close enough that I didn't need a camera to prove it. Even while he stood beside my bed, the camera still detected motion in the garden.